The Boston Red Sox have not had a good season. Last week here on Bleacher Brawls, I covered what some of the offseason priorities could be for the Red Sox pitching staff heading into 2023. And as promised, this is part two of that video. Part one was the pitching staff. Part two will be the position players. We're going to cover what I think the Red Sox should do this offseason when it comes to the position players, what I think they will do, and what really are the priorities? What is the most important things to get done this offseason? My name is Derek. You're watching Bleacher Brawls, and let's get straight into it. When it comes to discussing the Red Sox offseason, I think the best place to start is what's the most important thing? What are the two most important things? And to me, when I did the pitching staff, what I think is most important, that's the rotation. Here, I'm going to start with the two most important things to figure out. One, a Rafael Devers extension. That is the most important thing, and that's the first thing I'll start with. Second is the shortstop position. That's the second most important thing. First things first, Rafael Devers extension should happen this offseason. It needs to happen. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't happen, but you want it to happen this offseason. You don't want him to get that chance to hit free agency in 2023. For the Red Sox, locking up Rafael Devers would be massive. It's going to be a big contract. Do not get me wrong. It's going to be probably 10 years. That's okay. You take the risk with that deal. Chaim Bloom has been saying, and he's been saying it since he got the job, is you can't spend big money when you don't have the surrounding pieces. That's essentially what he's been saying. I'm not going to say the whole quote. I'm just going to have that's essentially the broken down version of it. You can't just spend money on these big contracts if you don't have the surrounding pieces. The surrounding pieces being young players who are cheap and talent in the system that's ready to come up. And the Red Sox are getting closer to having the depth that they want. They're still not there yet, but they're getting closer. They're getting closer towards where they want to be. And obviously, you can never have too much depth, but they're in a better position. They've been in a better position depth-wise every single year under Chaim Bloom. And this year has showcased, especially on the pitching side, not as much on the hitting side. There hasn't been like a ridiculous amount of injuries like there were to the starting rotation, but they're getting to that depth to where they get closer and closer to where they want to be, where they're more and more comfortable signing long-term deals. And I think Rafael Devers will be the first chip that this front office signs to a long-term deal. I know everyone wants to compare the Red Sox to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers now are spending much money, but the Dodgers took a while for them to spend money outside of the organization. Mookie Betts was the first guy Andrew Friedman spent money from outside on. And first of all, he had to trade for Mookie to even get that deal done, because Mookie still had 1 year left before hitting free agency. And he signs Mookie to this big deal. But you could say, yes, they spent money Kershaw and all those other guys. Yeah, but they're all in-house guys. They weren't out-of-house guys. I think for Chaim Bloom, it's gonna be similar. You're gonna start with the in-house guys, get those guys locked up, like a Rafi Devers, hopefully Bogarts. I'll get to that later though. But Devers is kind of that big. I don't consider Story under that massive, big contract. He's not like that 10-year deal kind of thing. It is a big deal, but it's not massive. And I think that's what I'm talking about here, the massive deals. Devers could easily get 10 years, close to 300 million. If not 300 million, it'll be close. So I think kind of the measuring stick is the Manny Machado deal, 10 years, 300 million. I know the Red Sox are going to try and use the Austin Riley deal, but you can never use any of the Braves deals as measuring sticks because the Braves get everyone at a discount because everyone who goes there ends up loving Atlanta. So the Braves get everyone on a discount. You can't from a player perspective, the players aren't looking at those at an Austin Riley. Devers isn't looking at an Austin Riley deal as a comp. Looking at the Manny Machado deal, which is 5 years ago. So you could even say Devers, hey, maybe I should get paid more than Machado is. That deal was signed 5 years ago. Whatever. But that the Devers extension is the big one to get locked up, get that thing locked in and loaded, and get Devers just locked in for pretty much the rest of his career. Make him a Red Sox lifer. Make him a Red Sox for life. Or Red Sox for life. Let's get that going. Now the shortstop question comes in. Obviously, Xander Bogaerts is the preference, right? And that stays with the in-house guys. Keeping a guy like a Xander Bogaerts. You keep Devers, you keep a guy like Xander Bogaerts. I think that's massive. And Devers and Bogaerts both have that chemistry as well. But Devers is definitely the number one priority. Bogaerts is two. And also, part of the reason why Bogaerts is two is you can replace him. It's not going to be a like-for-like replacement. It may not be but you can somewhat replace them. Uh, Carlos Correa might be a free agent. Trey Turner might be a will be a free agent. Dansby Swanson will be a free agent. You can still replace Bogaerts with another free agent shortstop if Bogaerts leaves for whatever reason, which I'll get to later. But you can't really replace Devers. There isn't another Rafi Devers, and I think that especially to Devers, at third base. Yeah, there are defensive concerns, but the DH spot is always open long term now that JD Martinez isn't there, and I don't see them getting a DH type anytime soon. So, but back to Bogaerts though. Bogaerts, he 100% needs to be locked up, get that deal just locked and loaded. Now the thing is interesting though, because you want to pay Bogaerts, but I don't want to overpay Bogaerts as well, right? And so there's a clear cutoff line at some point. Where's that cutoff line for Bogaerts? Is it, first of all, lengthwise? Is it 6 years? Is it 8 years? Is it 10 years? Whatever the cutoff line is, that's the cutoff line. I think that cutoff is 8 years. I've seen some people throw 8 for 200 because Semien got 7 for 175 last offseason, and Semien is a year older than what Bogaerts is this offseason. He was a year older last offseason than what Bogaerts was this offseason. And that wording might be a little confusing, but essentially, Bogaerts is 1 year younger this entering free agency than what Marcus Semien was entering free agency, essentially. So you get the extra year because of that. However, the question is also Semien was playing second base. Bogaerts has been playing shortstop, right? So does Bogaerts maybe get 8 for 27, 8 for 27 and a half, for example? 27.5 million per year. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? I think on the short end, 6 years is probably the shortest term you can go, but that's probably going to be 30 million a year, if not more. You might even get towards the 32 million at that range per year. If you're going long term, 10 years, you probably get 10 years, 25 million per year. Maybe you get the back end lowered a little bit, but normally you won't see that. The only question, though, is how much are the Red Sox willing to pay, and how much is someone else who's not with the Red Sox willing to pay? That someone specific is Dave Dombrowski. Has a history with Xander Bogaerts, obviously, from Dombrowski's time in Boston. And Dombrowski loves just spending money out the wazoo, and the rumors have been there have been Philly scouts at Red Sox games scouting Xander Bogaerts. If Dombrowski offers 10 years for 300, if you're the Red Sox, I don't think you get close to matching that. I don't think you should get close to matching that. And if Bogaerts wants to take that deal, by any means, let him take that deal, and you can try and target a Trey Turner or a Dansby Swanson at hopefully cheaper. I think Correa probably won't be cheaper, and they are both Boras guys, so that doesn't really help. The case of getting Correa in and leaving Bogaerts, although Alex Cora would want Correa due to their ties with Houston, and Correa and Cora are supposedly very close. However, if I have to go out and get those, I've said Dansby Swanson also too because he will be cheaper than Bogaerts. So if Bogaerts leaves because someone else gives him a boatload of money, Dansby Swanson will be cheaper. But maybe they want to go for Trey Turner, and here's why I say Trey Turner. The one glaring hole in a Red Sox lineup, we're not even talking positions, in a Red Sox lineup is the lack of a leadoff hitter. They do not have a leadoff hitter, haven't had a leadoff hitter since they traded Mookie Betts. I'm not blaming that on the trade for Mookie Betts. Something Heimblum had to do. He didn't really want to do it, but he kind of had to. But they haven't had a leadoff hitter. Kike was all right in 2021. Kike wasn't really good this year. Tommy Pham hasn't been great. He's been Tommy Pham. He hasn't done any worse than we expected him. Hasn't done amazing. He hasn't done any really better than what we expected. He's just been Tommy Pham. But that's not a leadoff hitter. And Trey Turner would be able to be a leadoff hitter. And if you want to roll some sort of lineup with Trey Turner, Rafi Devers in the 2 spot, Story in the 3 spot, then Verdugo in the 4, get a right-handed bat for the 5 spot, and then Casas at the 6 spot to start the year. I think there is a little bit of problem with the 3 lefties, having 3 lefties like Verdugo, Devers, and Casas. They're all probably going to be in the top 6 of that lineup. So, and you don't really want to put any of them back-to-back, right? So you kind of have to roll them 2-4-6 or 1-3-5, but none of them are really leadoff hitters. The 1-3-5 doesn't really work, and you don't want to put any of them back-to-back, like I said. So 2-4-6, they have to roll 2-4-6. And next year, they're not going to want to start the year with Casas in the cleanup spot. They're going to start him in the 6th spot. That's where he's hitting right now for the most part. I think that's where they're going to end up having him. And then Reese McGuire will be probably in the 8th spot. Probably. Maybe the 9th spot. But still, really, 8-9 spot, not much of a difference. So they got to figure it out, though. Trey Turner would allow you to go. Let me think. Because I'm thinking Kike's probably a 7-hole. They have a hole in right field for a right-handed bat, a hole at and a hole at DH for a right-handed bat. Unless they go get a Wilson Contreras, which I don't see, and Mike Zunino's not even a clamp hitter, so and I don't see them getting another catcher anyways, which I'll get to that later. But you're really looking like unless they somehow get Aaron Judge for that cleanup spot, or Judge would technically be the 3 spot, Story would be the 5 spot, or they go and there's not many right-handed hitting options this year that's outside of the shortstop position, and the Red Sox do need a leadoff hitter. Maybe that leadoff hitter comes in a trade. Who knows? DH, maybe it's a Jose Abreu. Jose Abreu slots in that lineup. Maybe. Who knows? But they got to figure it out. They go get a Jose Abreu on a 1 or 2 year deal, and he slides in that 3 or 5 spot, and they put Story in the other spot depending on where they put Jose Abreu. Maybe that's an option. I've also done out if maybe they want to go get a Dansby Swanson, or maybe Bogart stays. Do you try Story in the leadoff spot? Maybe you throw an Alex Verdugo in leadoff spot. Go Verdugo, Story, Devers, Bogarts, or Verdugo, Bogarts, Devers, Story, and then Cassis. Then you figure it out. But preferably, my preferred lineup would be if my preferred lineup would have Trey Turner in it, just because he's a legit leadoff hitter. And I think the only really other maybe option at leadoff spot is maybe like a Brandon Nimmo. But that's another lefty, and now you're starting to okay, where are you putting all these lefties in the lineup? You either got to put Verdugo or Casas in the 7 spot, and that's ridiculous. There's no point. And so you end up at the spot where it's okay, you got to get a right-handed leadoff hitter, or at least have Verdugo hit leadoff, which probably isn't a great option, and then you got to figure it. But that's not a great option. Preferred lineup for me would be Trey Turner, Rafi Devers, because he likes the 2 spot, he's comfortable there. Then you're probably looking at a Trevor Story or Jose Abreu, preferably. Maybe they get another right-hand bat. I'm going to say Trevor Story. Then we'll go with, let's say Alex Verdugo in the 4 spot. Then a right-handed hitter, whether it's Jose Abreu or someone else, or Mitch Haniger, or whoever it ends up being. Or maybe Hunter Renfroe comes back. We've seen crazier things happen. And they do need a right fielder still. Hunter Renfroe, who knows? It definitely wouldn't be out of the question to bring Hunter Renfroe back. Maybe that's 5 hole. That's your 5 hole low. Then you have Cassis in the 6 spot, 7 spot. You go Kike, 8 spot Reese McGuire, 9 spot. I'm definitely forgetting. Oh, the DH spot. No. Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting someone. I am definitely forgetting someone. Oh, yeah, you still have an open spot, whether it's right field or DH. And that could maybe even end up Kike ends up in the 9 spot, and you get a right-handed, and you get a Mitch Haniger in the 7 spot, or Jose Abreu in the 5 spot, Hunter Renfroe in the 7 spot. I don't know. You can figure it out though. I'm just throwing names out there, but I don't I feel like 4 or 5 lefties is the maximum. 4 lefties if you can't hypothetically go back to back. The only back to back I'll accept is a 9-1. And your 9 hitter normally isn't a great hitter anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So unless you go 1-3-5-7-9, or a 1-3, then 5-8, or here's a 1-3-5-7-9 to me is the only possibility where we have 5 lefties, actual lefties, not switch hitters, actual lefties. 5 is the max. 4 though is probably the realistic max of Devers, Verdugo, Cassis, and Reese McGuire. I'm counting Reese McGuire because he is going to be the starting catcher. And I'll explain why I'm counting Reese McGuire as well as starting catcher, but also too why I'm not counting someone else, like an Eric Hosmer, for example. I'll get to that. But so maybe your lefty spots can go 2, 4, 6, 8. They can go 1, 3, 5, 8, or 1, 3, 5, 7, or whatever, or 2, 4, 6, 9, or whatever. But 4 and 5 lefties really though is the max. So they're stuck in a spot because they already have 3 lefties. 4 if you count Reese McGuire. They can't really add any other lefties. Maybe 1, but then you're kind of moving guys around the lineup. Maybe you're not then Verdugo or Cassis has to sit in the 7 spot. I don't really like that. So it's now you gotta have righty in the 2 and 4 spots, and Story and the shortstop is 2-4. Now who's sitting in the 6 spot? You don't want to go Cassis and Verdugo back to back. In the 5-6. So you gotta get ready for the 6 spot now, and it's maybe that's Kike. Okay, who's sitting in the 8 spot? So there's that whole thing. But to me, it's you gotta get a shortstop. Preferably, it still is Bogarts. But if Bogarts leaves, preferably like not for me, lineup wise, it would be Trey Turner because he is a lead. You can hit him in the leadoff spot. And the Red Sox gotta figure out who the heck's gonna be the leadoff hitter, right? So, and I know some people might say, "Well, just go Verdugo Devers at the top of the lineup." Neither of them, both of them don't walk enough to have them go 1-2. Maybe like a 2-4, like that's okay, but like not you can't have them 1-2. I don't even think you could have them 2-3 if you wanted. You can't do that, especially back to back lefties who don't walk either, like or at least don't walk a lot. Like it just doesn't work. So you can't really put any of them back to back. Yeah, and now you're getting the lefty matchups, and it doesn't work out well. But let's move on now to right field. Right field's interesting. Mitch Haniger could be an option. Hunter Renfroe is always an option. Maybe they get someone who we're not expecting to play right field, or maybe they make a trade. Something, who knows? Trades are hard to predict, though. Who knows, right? Let's say but I think it does have to be a right-handed bat. I think it has to be. I don't think you can really afford any of the left-handed bats. So you're really looking. Hunter Renfroe's probably your best option, unless you go after Aaron Judge and you somehow get him. But to me, if you get Aaron Judge, you're not getting a star shortstop. At least that's kind of how I might be. Maybe that's just how I'm reading things. But if they get Aaron Judge, like I don't think they're keeping Bogarts. I don't think they're getting another shortstop unless it's Dansby Swanson on the cheap. Which at that point, I think he just goes back to Atlanta. Even though I made a case in one of my Bleacher Brawls columns where does Atlanta really need Dansby Swanson? Maybe, maybe not. That's to be seen. Because they do have Vaughn Grissom and Ozzie Albies. Vaughn Grissom can play short, Albies can play second. But besides the point, like you got to figure it out, right? I don't think Judge is. I think Judge, the Red Sox go after him to raise the price, not to try and actually sign him, unless you can somehow figure out a way to get him and Bogarts on the team, and like that's gonna be wacky. Then you got to figure out the DH spot still, and that brings me to the DH spot here. Is okay, what are we doing? Just you want to go and maybe let Christian Arroyo play every day? That could be an option. And then with Arroyo, you can slide him in at first, and they'll give Cassis the DH spot, or a second, Story DH. Put him at shortstop, whether it's Bogarts or whoever else DH. Put him at third. Let Devers DH. You can, if you really want to, you can even put him in right field and let an outfielder rest, right? So you do have options with that too. It could be a Christian Arroyo, it could be someone else. I know Christian Arroyo is not playing right field every day, so he's not in the right field conversation. So that's interesting. The one name I do want to bring up, Eric Hosmer. I think Eric Hosmer is either a bench guy this year for the in 2023 for the Red Sox, or he gets traded this offseason for like a reliever or something. A reliever on like a 1-year deal or something. Or maybe it's just for a prospect. I don't know. But with Cassis, like, do you really need Hosmer? Like maybe you want to keep him as a bench piece, and maybe that's what you want to do, and that's fine. If it's not as a bench role, like I don't see the DH, because like I said, then you get too many lefties, the 5 lefties, and then you got to have a lefty hitting leadoff, and Verdugo hits leadoff. Let's just say Verdugo hits leadoff. Devers is in the 3 spot, Cassis 5th, Hosmer 7th, and then Reese McGuire 9th, and Connor Wong when Reese McGuire doesn't catch us. Like that, that's just too much, right? That's just too much. Like it's too many lefties. I like 5 is the absolute limit, but like you'd prefer a maximum of 4, right? I have shouted out the name like a Cody Bellinger as a possible outfielder. Maybe the Red Sox take a flyer on him if the Dodgers non-tender him, or Joey Gallo could be a flyer as well. But I think we run into that same problem of too many lefties, too many left-handed bats in that lineup. I think people aren't realizing that enough and saying there's too many lefties. There's too many lefties if you bring in another lefty, and so. Yeah, and then the catcher spot. Reese McGuire is your starting catcher. Connor Wong's your backup. Even Connor Wong ends up becoming your everyday catcher. There's not enough room for another good left-handed bat in the lineup, because now you have to, you can't have, like the max you can have 4 lefties in your top 7, but to me, you don't want to stack lefties back to back. So now you got to spread your lefties out 1, 3, 5, 7, and the Red Sox don't have a left-handed bat that can hit leadoff unless they bring in like a Brandon Nimmo. That's the only option. And then they get into the spot, Devers in the 3 hole, Cassis in the 5th spot, Verdugo in the 7th spot, or Verdugo in the 5th spot, Cassis in the 7th spot. I'm not crazy over that. Plus 2 Cassis in the 7th spot, you're not getting any protection for him. So I don't like that. That's just me. Um, so preferably the Red Sox next year have some sort. Let's say Christian Arroyo is going to start at DH. Well, or I say quote unquote start at DH, right? Realistically, he's going to be like a DH like once every 5 days, and you just rotate, or twice every 5 days, or maybe even 3 times every 5 days, whatever, 2 or 3 times every 5 days, and then the other 2 or 3 days he's not the DH. You're rotating him into positions, and you're giving guys a day off. You're giving guys a day off in the DH spot, so you keep them in your lineup, but they're not having the extended wear and tear on their bodies by playing the field. I think that's kind of where the Red Sox want to go with the DH spot. I think Christian Arroyo could do that. So I'm thinking like the Red Sox, unless they get out Jose Abreu, I think he's probably the best option. Little technical difficulties, but hypothetically though, after my technical difficulties have gone away now, hypothetically though, you're going to look at Christian Arroyo probably in the DH spot. I'm going to say Christian Arroyo in the DH spot. I feel confident in that. I feel confident. So you're looking at Reese McGuire at the catcher spot. Tristan Casas at first. Second is Trevor Story. Short is to me, it's either Bogarts or Trey Turner, and then a dark horse of Dansby Swanson. So I'll give 2 lineups. I'll give one lineup with Xander Bogaerts, one with Trey Turner. So Bogarts or Trey Turner. Third is Devers. Left is Verdugo. Center is Kike. Right field, I'm going to make the bold claim that they bring back Hunter Renfroe. That wouldn't surprise me, actually. However, I do want to say this could easily be like a Mitch Haniger as well, or another guy who I'm just forgetting off the top of my head, right? Or it could be a Brandon Nimmo. Maybe they want to get Nimmo. I don't know, but I don't think that's the route. I don't think they're going to go the route of a Brandon Nimmo. So hypothetically, now you're looking at. Actually, I won't even say Nimmo. I'll give you. I will give you 3 lineups Red Sox can roll with. The first lineup will be with Xander Bogaerts and Brandon Nimmo. Let's say Brandon Nimmo. Let's get this Nimmo lineup done with. Nimmo hits leadoff. I think Story gets hit second. Devers third. Bogarts fourth. Then you're probably Verdugo fifth. Sixth is now you're probably looking at Christian Arroyo sixth. Casas seventh. Eighth is Kike Hernandez. Ninth is Reese McGuire. That's my least favorite lineup out of all of these. Now if you have Bogarts and let's say you get keep Bogarts. Let's say you get a right fielder like a Hunter Renfroe. DH spot is Christian Arroyo. Let's just say it's Christian Arroyo. Now you can either hit Kike leadoff. I don't like that. I think at that point you have to try at that point. Try Verdugo in the leadoff spot. Then you go with Trevor Story again. I do trust Story in that 2 spot. I would trust him in that 2 spot. Then you go Devers, Bogarts, Casas. Then let's say a Hunter Renfroe. Then now then after that you're free reigns to go, wherever you want with the lineup. So you have I'm losing my thought for half a second. So you go Verdugo, Story, Devers, Bogarts, Casas, then Renfroe in the 6th spot. Then you just throw in a mix of Arroyo, Kike Hernandez, and Reese McGuire. Or maybe you go let's go Arroyo, Reese McGuire, and then Kike in the 9th spot. Let's do that. Let's roll with that. Okay, that's your second lineup. Your third lineup, you're looking at Trey, and this is the lineup with Trey Turner instead of Xander Bogaerts. It's me subbing in Trey Turner instead of Xander Bogaerts. You're looking at Trey Turner, Rafi Devers, Trevor Story, Alex Verdugo, or Tristan Casas, whichever one you want to go with. But it's been Verdugo this year so far in that 4th spot, late this year. So roll Verdugo. Then Hunter Renfroe. That's an option. Then you're looking at Tristan Casas, Christian Arroyo, Reese McGuire, Kike Hernandez. Or if you don't want to have Arroyo DH and you go out and get a Jose Abreu, Abreu slides in that 5th slot. So it goes to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 would be Verdugo, Abreu, Casas, Renfroe. Then you're looking at Reese McGuire and Kike Hernandez in the 9th spot. I think Kike does end up in the 9th spot unless they have 5 lefties, then he's in the 8th spot. I think that's where he would be best off. I think that really is where he'd be best off. And then you're looking for 2024 to transition from Kike to Ceddanne Rafaela in center. That's truly what I think. And Rafaela offers the same versatility that Kike does as well, which is why they only got Kike to a 1-year deal, in my opinion. And if something happens to Rafaela injury-wise and he's not ready for, or something happens, he's not ready for 2024, you can just re-sign Kike again. I think that's where it's going. That's what I see happening. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. I mean, perfect world, they figure out a way to get a leadoff hitter and keep Xander Bogaerts, and there's not too many lefties in the lineup. But I'm a little worried at that. So lineup-wise, I think Trey Turner's probably the best fit. I'm not gonna lie, considering what else you can do around that lineup. Like you can get other right-handed hitters to hit third and fifth, instead of Xander Bogaerts. You can't get a leadoff hitter like a Trey Turner. Not that these hitters are necessarily better than Bogaerts, but like they're somewhat similar. The Red Sox, their leadoff options are nowhere near what a Trey Turner would bring to the table. And I do also want to bring up the last fact of Trevor Story. The Red Sox want to bring more athleticism. Trevor Story has done that at second base, and he can steal some bags for you. Trey Turner can steal bases for you as well. So that could be a duo at that near that top of that lineup that can steal bases. They can hit. They can field as well. Got a lot of range. And Trey Turner is the easiest out of all the free agent shortstops to move off a shortstop. If anyone remembers, Trey Turner did play center field at some point with the Nationals. He doesn't want to play there anymore. Also, last year with the Dodgers in 2021, he played second base when he first got traded there. So something has Story. Maybe Story has to move to a DH spot because his shoulder's just so bad in like a couple years. He can slide Trey Turner over to second if you need to or something. Like there's options. Trey Turner is the easiest guy though to move off shortstop. So that also brings that added versatility. Obviously, I think like every Red Sox fan, I still prefer Xander Bogaerts. You're not get me wrong. I still prefer Xander Bogaerts, especially because of what he means to the Red Sox. But I would not complain at all if Bogaerts goes signs elsewhere for a massive deal and the Red Sox pivot and bring in Trey Turner. I would not complain one bit. You would not hear me complain one bit at all. I still want Xander Bogaerts. I still want Bogaerts and Devers. But if Bogaerts leaves, let's say the Phillies offer him something ridiculous, and the Red Sox are like, no, we're not getting close to that because that's ridiculous. And Bogaerts goes, Trey Turner's not a bad option. Or even like Carlos Correa and Dansby Swanson. I don't like the Correa option. Dansby Swanson wouldn't be a bad option either, but I think Trey Turner's probably your best option there. And like I said, he's probably the easiest to move off a shortstop if you need to when the time comes for like a Marcelo Meyer, for example. So that's kind of how I see it. Let me know what you guys think. That the best lineup I think the Red Sox could do does involve Trey Turner because that's your leadoff hitter. But we'll see. Maybe they do something weird that's unexpected. Who knows? That's to be seen. I think their final 13 guys on that roster is. I'm not going to necessarily name everyone because I don't want to just name guys, right? But it's going to be your catchers are going to be Reese McGuire and Connor Wong. Then you have Tristan Cassis, Trevor Story, a shortstop, whether it's Bogart, Swanson, Turner, any of those guys. You're going to have Devers, Verdugo, Kike Hernandez, a right fielder. Trust me, they're going to get a right fielder. Whether it's Hunter Renfroe, they're going to get someone. So that's 9 right there. That's your starting 9. They're going to get there's a 9, actually. 8 plus your backup catcher. Yeah, they're going to get a DH, so I'm going to fill that DH role, or it's going to be Christian Arroyo. So let's just hypothetically say it's Christian Arroyo. Okay, boom. That's 10. Now you have your backup first baseman / third base. Backup first baseman, which can be Bobby Dahlek, who can also back up third. Maybe it's just Hosmer, because Arroyo can play third if you need him to. So it's either Dahlbeck or Hosmer. Probably Rob Refsnyder. And a 13th guy. A Yu Chang, maybe? Like, that's your team. That's your 13. Boom, done. Like the Red Sox team it's not going to have like the ridiculous amount of turnover people are thinking. I think Tommy Pham's. I've said I wouldn't be against Tommy Pham coming back, but the more I think about it, the more I go. And I don't really like Verdugo in right field that much. I love Verdugo, but right field I don't love it. So I think that's kind of your final 13. I think Tommy Pham's not there. I don't think Hosmer stay there. I think Dahlek's gonna be the backup first baseman / third baseman. Hosmer gets dealt for something. I think Arroyo's going to be in a kind of utility role also with that DH spot as well. At that best case scenario, worst case scenario, like best case for Arroyo, worst case for Arroyo, he's just like a utility bench guy who can come in and give guys days off. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with the Red Sox. Do they bring back Hunter Renfroe? I think that would be hilarious if they did. And it would not be a bad move either. But let me know what you guys want to see in the comments. What do you think will happen? What are you expecting? Would you guys be okay getting a Trey Turner if Bogarts is offered something ridiculous and it's like 10 years, 350? I don't know. I'm just throwing something out there. Would you guys be okay with a Trey Turner to replace Bogarts if Bogarts does in fact leave? Or even a Dansby Swanson? Would you guys be okay with that in the situation where Bogarts has left and you got to bring in someone to play shortstop? Are you guys fine with that? Or are you still going to be upset that Bogarts left? Doesn't matter who they bring in. Let me know. Is there any guys that I haven't brought up that you would consider bringing in yourself? Maybe you consider bringing in someone that I haven't named on the offensive side. Let me know. Throw it in the comments. Let's have a discussion. We'll make sure to reply to as many comments as we can that we see. We occasionally miss one or two, but we try and reply to as many comments as possible, or at least give feedback, whether it's a like or heart on the comment or whatever. We try and respond to in some way to as many as possible. But thanks for tuning in to Bleacher. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Check out all our links in the description. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher once again. My name is Derek, and I'll see you next time.